Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Broadline. In today's episode, I'll be going through the ins and outs of the beginning and end of the process for your interest in the Army, and also what happens after you raise your hand and you swear your oath. Now, the first thing I'll say is that I appreciate everyone that watched the first episode. I know it wasn't in the millions or thousands, but the few people that did watch the first episode, I really appreciate that. And if you click that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it, whenever I post a new video, you'll receive notification that I've done so. Okay, so thank you very much. Whenever we process with someone that is showed interest in wanting to serve within the Army, we'll try our best to get them to everything that they want, whether it be money for college or maybe just financial stability or the stability of, hey, I'm living in my mother and dad's house and I've got to get out of here. I can't find anything but dead-end jobs around here. I don't want to go to college and dig myself into a hole full of debt, and I just think the Army's the best thing for me right now. We'll help an individual based off of their need and whatever aspiration they may have. So every day that we go out, it's a grind. Okay, whether it's cold calling people to try to talk to people about the Army, or if it's going out into the community, just going to the mall, going to retail stores during a busy work day, and just try to talk to people. Unicorns are very rare. Within recruiting, unicorns are those individuals that we meet out in the community or that we call on the phone, and that person has no moral violations, no medical issues whatsoever. They score really high on the ASVAB. I mean, they are just from start to finish, very little effort and very little time, but those people are few and far between. They do make the job a lot easier when you do get them, but I mean, again, it is rare. But when we go out in the community, I've talked with hundreds, probably thousands of people at this point. I've got about 7 months left here in recruiting, which I volunteered for, and in my time here, I've spoke with so many people that you know I've lost. I can't count it on 2 hands and 2 feet. I mean, it is a lot of people that I've spoken to. The biggest struggle is finding those individuals that you know for without a doubt, you know that person could benefit from everything that the Army has to offer them. They're young, they got a good head on their shoulders. And they're, who knows, living with mom and dad. Maybe they're living at a friend's house because mom and dad kicked them out, say, get a job or get out of my house. We've had that before. Or if we have that individual that's just working that dead-end job, and it's like, listen, here's the silver platter. Everything is on it. Do you want sauce with that? But we still have that individual that says, you know what, I'm good. I'm fine with where I'm at. I had somebody that said they were working 3 jobs, just to live paycheck to paycheck, was not living with parents. They had a place of their own, had a kid, and I basically told them, listen, you tested well on the practice test. I mean, we can get you in one job. You got a child, you're married, we can get you a housing allowance and everything that I laid out for this person. And they said, you know what, I'd rather work 3 jobs than serve in the Army. Okay. I go on good luck to you. I go on my merry way. That's what hurts the most, is when you see those individuals that could benefit so much from it, but they don't want to give it the time of day. But when we do meet that individual that says, you know what, that sounds like it could work for me. Well, if that person agrees that they're ready to come in and meet with me, or another recruiter, they have somebody that agrees to meet with them, then the first thing we do when we meet with that person is we do what's called a pre-qualification. So if you ever meet a recruiter out in the community and they start asking you these unusual questions about you, it's for a purpose, okay? It's so we know that we're not wasting your time, and no disrespect, wasting our time by trying to process someone that is not qualified. Okay, so during this pre-qualification process, we'll ask about moral violations. That's things that you've ever been arrested for. You know, traffic tickets. It's okay if you've got traffic tickets. We just have to list them in your record whenever that time comes. So, you know, height and weight standards. Height and weight gets a lot of people nowadays. And So we make sure that everybody meets those prerequisites, making sure you don't have, say you're a single parent and you've got 5 children, and it's 5 children and you're just a single parent. That could be an issue. Or there's a lot of things that could disqualify for someone from joining the Army, and it's our mission to get that stuff out in the open so we know what to look for. And when somebody tells us something, we can tell them right then and there. It's like, yeah, that's doable. You'll have to come in so we can get the specifics out of the way, but it's doable. So we go through the pre-qualification. They'll ask about medical stuff. So are you on prescription medications? Have you ever been on prescription medication? If it was, what was it for? If you got the flu, or if you had to go to the doctor, get about antibiotics because you got sick or something, that's fine. That's not going to disqualify you. The stuff that we're looking for is stuff that you had to take medication for on a regular basis. So, like if you had narcolepsy and you need help and you had to take medication for that, or if you had epilepsy and you had to take medication for that, or if you had depression and anxiety and you had to take medication for that, you saw a psychologist, you're still seeing a counselor on a regular basis. Maybe you lost a loved one and you didn't take it well. We have to know these things because we don't want to waste your time if it's something that would disqualify you. Okay, now, if you've seen a counselor in the past, that's not going to disqualify you. I just want to throw that out there, okay? I've seen a counselor before myself. My grandfather passed away, and it hit me really hard. I saw a free counselor for that, but it wasn't something I had to take medication for. I just needed somebody to talk to besides, just emptying my heart onto my family that was already probably suffering from the same thing I was suffering from. So I didn't want to just keep pouring that emotion onto them. I just wanted to go somewhere else to somebody that I haven't spoken to. That way I can just tell them how I feel, basically get the, hey, it's okay kind of thing, and go on about my merry way. Okay, that's okay. Or family transition therapy. I had a guy tell me way back. He ended up not joining, but that's beside the point. But he said that he went through family transition therapy because he was the oldest child, and the parents ended up adopting a younger child in probably single digits, 5 or 6 years old child, and he was no longer the only child in the house. Now the parents were giving that new child a good portion of the attention. This guy was an older teenager, so he didn't need all that additional attention now. And so he went through family transition therapy with his parents and that new child to just get to a way for him to cope with that new environment. So again, that's not something that'll disqualify you. It's just something we have to know about. Now, other things that can disqualify you, felonies being one of them. I will tell you this: you can get into the Army with a felony, but it's going to be very difficult. Okay, if you get a felony on your record, I get it. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay, I made mistakes. All right, but here's the thing. If you've gotten a criminal record, okay, everybody makes mistakes. Say you was in a wrong place, wrong time. You was with a group of friends, and the police showed up, and you were guilty by association. You tried to plead your case, and nothing ever came of it. You still got charged with it. You were guilty by association. Okay, it's happened before. Okay, I've spoken with people that ended up in that kind of circumstance. If you get a felony on your record, it is waivable. But here's the caveat. If you've gotten arrested for something, truly arrested for something, forget the whole I was guilty by association thing. Say you were guilty, okay? You did something to get a felony on your record, okay? What the Army is going to look for is what have you done to change yourself from that person to the person you are now. College education. You don't have to have a doctorate, but just showing that you've actually went back to school to try to better yourself, or hey, you're volunteering around the community, or you've been going to this church for the last 10 years that happened, and you volunteer in the church every weekend. You run the sound equipment, you run the camera for the service. All they're looking for is what have you done differently to change yourself. Okay, now, for that individual that felony happened and they've done nothing to try to better themselves, they're still working some dead-end job somewhere, never really done anything with their life other than just, well, it happened, too bad, so sad, I'll just keep on moving. It's going to be very hard to get you in. We're going to try our best to get you in, but I'm just telling you now, you have to have shown something to where you've bettered yourself. If you do get told, hey, we can't help you, I mean, the recruiter's not trying to push you aside. It's probably because it's true. If a recruiter tells you, hey, I'm sorry, man, but you've got a felony on your record, I mean, if you want to come back in a few months, start volunteering places, or start doing this and that. Just try to get yourself into a place to where you got good references that'll vouch for you that you're not that person you used to be. And sometimes all it takes is your own statement. Write a personal statement stating it was a stupid time of my life, and I wish that I had never done those things, and I want to join the Army because I know that it will help get me to a new point in my life to where I can be successful, and I can actually devote my daily life to something that's bigger than myself. Sometimes that's all it could take. You may not need all that volunteer work. You may not need that college education. But again, we won't know until we get to that point where we submit all that paperwork and they either tell us yes or no. But if they tell us no, then there's really nothing we can do. But if they come back and it's a yes, then fantastic for you. We'll keep pushing forward, okay? That's felonies, okay? If you get traffic tickets, you could have a ton of traffic tickets. I had a ton of traffic tickets when I enlisted. They had to list every single one of them. So it's a extra work, but it's better to put it in there than to hide it. Okay, because hiding it, especially if you get a job that requires a security clearance, they're going to find it somehow, some way. They're going to find it. So it's better that it's there, even if the dates are estimated, the fine you paid was estimated. It's better than it's estimated than you just completely leaving it out altogether. Okay. But traffic tickets will not stop you from joining the Army. The only time it would hinder your process is if you got stopped for a traffic violation and then you were arrested because of the traffic violation. Case in point, I worked with a guy a while back, and he actually he got stopped for a traffic violation, or he got pulled over, did not have his insurance with him, so he got a citation for the insurance. Okay, well, he never followed up on it, didn't take the insurance to the courthouse to prove that he actually had insurance. He never paid the traffic ticket, so then they put a warrant out for his arrest. Okay, so yes, you can definitely get arrested through a traffic ticket, especially if you got a court date, or if they gave you hey, bring us a copy of your insurance, bring us a, this or that, or hey, I just renewed my tag, I just forgot to put the registration in my car. If they say, hey, bring us the registration and we'll write it off. If you forget to do that and then the court date happens and you never show up, all it's going to take is for that judge to strike the hammer and say that there's a warrant out for your arrest. Does not matter if it's the same state. Does not matter if it's the same county or city. I mean, like, say for instance, if that happened in, I don't know, Texas, for instance. Okay, well, and now you're here in another state, say Alabama, right? Well, if you get pulled over in Alabama, then they run your record. They're going to see you have a warrant for your arrest in Texas. It doesn't matter if you're in Texas or not. That local police officer can put you in handcuffs and arrest you. Okay, so yes, you can get arrested for a traffic ticket. But again, if it's just a traffic ticket, you paid the fine, you go. We'll push forward. We'll put it in your record. We'll move on through the process. Okay. Now, so we've got all the pre-qualification stuff out of the way. Person told us, hey, I got a few traffic tickets. I don't have any medical issues. I've never had any surgeries. I've never been on medication other than antibiotics if I got sick. Okay, well, great. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to schedule an appointment to sit down and meet with that individual. Okay. Generally, we try to schedule that appointment within the next 2 to 3 days. Because most people, it's the nature of humans. We start getting into our own heads, and then we're like, I don't know if I really should join the Army. I never considered it before, but it's the Army, though. So any longer than 2 or 3 days, then most individuals are going to think about it, think too much about it, and then they're going to back out and then lose out on the opportunity they would have had otherwise. So that's generally why we try to do it within 2 to 3 days, hopefully within the same week that we schedule it. Okay. All right. So this person said, yeah, I'm free. We met with them on a Monday. They said, yes, I'm free, this Thursday. Okay. Well, the person comes to my office. Well, they sit down with me. And, okay, then we start going over the details, okay? Here's the difference, okay? We got reserves and active duty, okay? Active duty being regular Army, or the reserves being the Army Reserves, okay? I will go over all the options for both of them. We as recruiters, we will try our best to recommend to you the best thing that we feel would be the best for you. Now, if the individual goes against that recommendation and they take the latter, then we'll process them as such. I mean, we as recruiters will process the person for what they want. So we go over the reserves, and this is generally the way that we look at it. We first ask the person, what are your goals? Okay. Have you ever been in college? Yes. Okay. Well, what were you in college for? Well, I was trying to do computer science. Well, why did you stop that? More often than not, most people just couldn't afford it. And they knew that they were going to start racking up debt, and the debt was just something they weren't comfortable with, so they dropped out. And they're working a job that there's no way that they can pay for out of pocket, so they just stopped going to college. So then we say, well, what if you had the opportunity to go back to college full time and actually be able to do that? Would you want to continue doing it? Well, sure. Okay, well then we'll have that. Okay, and then say, well, is college something that you would want to do full time? Like 5 classes at a time? Or are we just talking about, hey, you just want, a good steady job and you'll take college classes here and there, but it don't need to be all at one time, or, all at one time. Well, if that person says, yeah, I hate school. I'll do it every so often just because I know I need the education, but, I'm just not really at the point where I just want to go to a class every single day. Okay, well, active duty is a better way. So we get all this stuff out of the way. We find out what this person's goals and aspirations are. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to say, listen, based off of every information you've given me, okay, where you are in your life right now, everything that you've told me based off of what you're trying to achieve, I feel like the active duty would be the better way to go. Because you'll be able to choose the career field you want. Okay, you'll be able to get all these, this stacked load of benefits and opportunities that the active duty Army can provide to you. And then you can still go to college. You won't be able to go to college full time, but you just told me that you don't want to go to college full time. So then you're still going to be able to go to college, but it'll be on the Army. It won't be on you. Okay. Yes, you still got to go to the classes. You still have to do the class work. But you don't have to worry about the expense of paying for it. And if that person says, you know what, I think that's really nice, but I'm not ready to leave this area yet. I'd much rather just stay local and just work around here. Okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then we'll push forward. The two primary differences between the active duty and reserves, just so you know, and this is for the populace. Okay, we're past the scenario now. Okay. Reserves is part-time, active duty is full-time. Okay, so when you do the reserves, you finish basic training and advanced individual training, AIT for short. That's for your job. That's for the career field that you choose. The AIT is where they teach you how to do that job. Okay, so if I say career field and job, okay, for me the Army's a career. For others, it may be a job. So if I use both of them interchangeably, I apologize, but depending upon who you are, it could be a career, it could be a job, okay? But AIT is the training for your job that you choose to do with the Army, okay? Caveat to that, Army is the only branch of the military that will guarantee your job choice when you come in, okay? Bar none. We don't even take you to MEPS to do your physical or even process until you choose a career field first. There are extenuating circumstances, what we're having to do as far as your enlistment goes. Like, for instance, if you have to have a physical, like if you need a waiver for something and you have to have a physical first, then we would take you to do your physical. But we won't take you back to MEPS to actually contract until you choose a career field or a job first. Okay, so that is the Army is the only branch that does that. I can't speak for the other branches specifically, but this is just basing it off of what I've had other people tell me that process with other branches. I've been told the Air Force can give you an aptitude area, and then once you finish boot camp or basic training with them, they assign you a job based off of that aptitude area. Now you'll know what the aptitude area is to begin with, but you won't know what job you're getting. With the Navy and the Marines, I've been told by people that process with them, they didn't even know what jobs were even available to them until they were sitting at the contracting table at MEPS. So they've already done their ASVAB, they've already done the physical, they've already done everything necessary to join, and they're sitting at the table contracting. It's like, these are the jobs available, which one do you want? We don't even do any of the contracting pieces until you actually choose a career field first. You get what's called a temporary reservation from our office, and it'll be in black and white. It'll show you your any bonuses or incentives that you received, and it'll also tell you what your MOS or military occupational specialty. It'll tell you what that is before you even step foot in MEPS to contract. Okay, now we have 7 days once you pick your career field to go to MEPS to actually permanently reserve that to where it's yours. Outside of that 7-day window, it goes back on our recruiting system for somebody else to take. So if you got that dream job and it was only one training seat left and you got cold feet and decided, hey, the Army, this is moving too fast, I can't do this right now, well, that one job, that one training seat for that dream job you wanted is going to be somebody else's training seat and dream job. You chose your career field, we take you to MEPS, you do your physical, and then at the last thing you do for the day is swearing in. This individual that I've already met with, okay, they've already taken the ASVAB, they score the practice test rather, because we're not at the ASVAB yet. Okay, we've done the pre-qualification. I've done the interview with them. I've sat down and basically gave my recommendation. The person said, you know what, I'm not really ready to leave home yet. I'd rather stay here. I'll do college, but I just won't do it full time. Okay, well, they decided to do the reserves. My recommendation was active duty. Okay, then I'll process them as such. Okay, so when they say yes, I want to do I'm ready to do this. Well, I'll put them on a practice test for the ASVAB, and the practice test only has 4 sections on it. If you let start to finish, if you let time run out on that practice test, it'll take you about 30 minutes. Now, on a side note, okay, this comes from people that we have actually processed in my office, have came into my office, and they said they took the practice test with another branch, but they actually ended up putting them on a full ASVAB and told them it was a practice test. I would like to think that not every single other recruiter is doing that, but they basically would put them on a version of the full ASVAB in their recruiting offices, and then once they finish, if they pass, they'll say, hey, guess what? You just passed the ASVAB. You ready to join? Or if they fail, hey, you failed, here's some study material, come back when you can pass. Okay, well, we're never, ever going to put anybody on the full ASVAB until they can pass the practice test first. So when you take the practice test, it'll have the main 4 sections that is going to make up the primary percentile score that is going to tell you whether we can process you or whether you need to study some more. Okay, so the practice test has arithmetic reasoning, that's word math problems, math knowledge, and you'll have paragraph comprehension and word knowledge. Those 4 main sections are 10th grade level. Okay, now, not to demean or degrade anybody's intelligence, but if you haven't been in school in years and you take this, unless you just retain information really well, there's no possible way that you're going to be able to remember all those formulas and, how to do some of that algebra on the ASVAB. But who knows? I mean, you may go in there and blow it out of the water, even if you come in there and you do okay. Okay is fine. We will still find you a career field that you will enjoy doing with just an okay score. Okay, that is our mission, is to make sure that we get everybody in our office happy with the decision that they have made, because a happy applicant becomes a happy soldier becomes a good service member for our Army. Interview has happened. We've determined any disqualifications the person has had. This person that I've been communicating with hasn't got any disqualifications, so they're ready to process. I put them on the practice test. They do really well. And then the next thing that's going to happen is, I'm going to say, okay, you know what, you passed, you did really well, you pretty much qualify for anything you want. Are you ready to join the Army? And if that person says yes, I'm ready. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take them to my station commander, and he is going to have a sit down with them. Now, during that sit down, this is called a hot seat. He's pretty much going to ask generally the same questions that you've already been asked already, but he'll ask them in a different way to see if you get a different answer. Now, you'll have a packet that you fill out called a hot seat, and it'll ask questions, basically the same thing he's going to ask. There's just something about this hot seat packet that the way the questions are worded, the person may have answered it no on the main application packet, but when they answer it on the hot seat, they answer it completely different. I don't understand why, but it happens. Once the person goes and sits down with my station commander, at this point, they've already said, I'm ready to join. I don't have anything stopping me. I'm ready to get out of here. Okay, well, they'll sit down with my station commander. He'll ask them all the questions. As long as my station commander doesn't find anything out of the ordinary, then the next thing that'll happen is we'll start scheduling that person for the full ASVAB first. They'll take the ASVAB. Depending upon how quickly this person wants to move forward, we'll give them an application packet that they have to fill out, which has residential history, employment history, education history. I mean, it goes back 10 years or until your 16th birthday, whichever comes first. And if this person has only lived in one place for the last 10 years, or 16th birthday, they've only went to school one place, and they've only worked at maybe two places, and they can remember the supervisor's name for the last place they worked. Honestly, if the person is ready to move forward and they have nothing stopping them, we're going to start doing the application packet right there with them in the office. Now, if the person says, hey, I just need a little bit of time, I worked 10 different places, because I worked quite a few places when I enlisted. So if somebody says I've worked a lot of places, I can fill you there. Or, if you've been to several different places, you went to this community college, and then after that or you went to high school and then community college, and then you went from this community college to another community college, and then you went from that community college to a four-year university, then yeah, you may need a little time to track all that information down. Okay, but generally, we'll give you the application packet. We'll try to alleviate as much extra work for the applicant as we can. If the person, say they don't really have a huge work history, education history, or residential history, then we'll do the packet right there in the office. We'll do fingerprints, because whenever you make the choice to choose, or when you make that choice to join the Army, then we will actually run your fingerprints. This is an electronic background check. You'll sign a piece of paper giving us authorization to do so, and this electronic background check goes through the FBI. So if that person, if they did have a charge and they neglected to tell us about it, or maybe they forgot about it, or maybe they just didn't want to tell us about it because they were just so anxious or excited to join, well, this FBI check will find everything. Okay, if it's on your record, it will come up. Okay, now if we run that person's fingerprints and nothing comes back, as long as that person didn't tell us a charge that they had, but it's nowhere on their record. For instance, juvenile charges. If you had a juvenile charge, we run your fingerprints. Sometimes juvenile charges will not come back. So if that person told us they have a juvenile charge, then we'll do what's called a self-admittal. We'll try to run background checks with whatever police departments, courts, so we'll have to run city, county, and state wherever that person has lived, worked, lived, and went to school within the last 3 years. Okay, so if we run all those checks and nothing ever comes back, or say that there's a courthouse that says this is a juvenile record, we will not release it, then we'll do a self-admittal with that person. We'll put that in their record. As long as it's not something that's going to permanently disqualify them because of the type of charge it is, then we'll just run the self-admittal and we'll go on. We'll continue on with the process. But say this person's check comes back, nothing's there. We put in all their traffic tickets they said they had. They don't have a criminal record. They didn't tell us they had a criminal record of any sort, so this person's ready to go. As I said before, we're still going to express, not so much express, we're going to request the urgency that this person wants to move. If this person, again, continues to tell us, listen, I don't have my birth certificate, I can bring it tomorrow. Okay, great. Okay, well, I don't have my birth certificate. I lost it in a move. I'll have to order it. Okay, then we know how long generally it's going to take for us to receive that. Especially if if they were born out of state, we generally know how long it's going to take. So we can still test the person. They just won't be able to pick a job or do their physical until their birth certificate or whatever paperwork they're missing comes back. So urgency will continue to express it. Now, I've even had someone tell me, I am ready to move forward. I can't wait to get out of here. I am tired of being in my mom and dad's house. I want a steady paycheck. I want insurance. I want everything the Army offers. Well, we start going through the process, and this person just ghosts me. They're not returning my phone calls. They're not returning my text messages. Eventually, I have someone else in my office contact them to see if they just backed out or got cold feet. And all it was the person says, I just felt like this process was moving too quick, and I was going to call Sergeant Holly back whenever I felt like I was ready. If you're processing with a recruiter and you feel like the process is moving too quick, just tell the recruiter. You're not going to let the recruiter down by just being honest, because the last thing we want is for us to get this process moving based off of your feedback that you said you were ready to go, and then later you come back and say, you know what, it's moving too fast. I need more time. Okay, just tell us that up front, because we can stretch it out. Okay, we don't have. If you're not ready to move, we'll stretch it out until you get to the point to where you're at least an 8 out of 10. You don't have to be a 10 out of 10 the whole way through, because it's a big decision. But just let us know ahead of time. Don't bottle it up and then just stop calling or texting with us, because how are we supposed to know one way or the other if you haven't told us, okay? So just be truthful. That's the only thing I can say. We have 2 versions of the ASVAB that we can give, okay? If the person takes the practice test and say they're mid-20s, 30s, then we would put them on what's called a PICAT, Pre-Screen Internet Computerized Adaptive Test. That's why they have acronyms in the Army. So with the PICAT, it's an untimed version of the ASVAB you can actually take in our office. Now, with that comes a little extra work, okay? Yes, it's untimed. You'll be able to focus more on each question to help you get over that threshold of being able to get a passing score that you're happy with. If you take it and you do really well on it, then within 30 days, we try to do it within a week, because most people, they may not remember what they took on the PICAT, because you'll do what's called a confirmation test. That confirmation test, well, they'll pull basically bits and pieces out of that same exact PICAT you just took, and they will summarize it in roughly 25 to 30 minutes worth of a confirmation test. It'll be the same math formulas. It'll be the same numbers within the math problem, same words, same paragraphs for paragraph comprehension. It'll be the same everything. And what that does, the confirmation test is just a quality control measure to make sure you didn't cheat, that we didn't allow you to cheat, and that you didn't cheat, and we just didn't catch you cheating. Okay? So if you go down to MAPS and you confirm your score, you got everything right you needed to get right, then you keep the score you got on the PICAT. Okay? Now, if you get like a mid-60s and up on the full or on the practice test, the best thing that you could do is the full ASVAB, because the full ASVAB, there's no confirmation test. You take the practice test, you do really well on it, then the next thing that we do is we'll take you down to MAPS and you just do the full ASVAB there. Then once you finish the full ASVAB, your scores go in the system immediately. There's no confirmation test, no verification test that has to be done. Once you take the PICAT, or once you take the full ASVAB and your scores go in our system, you could literally come back to our office and choose a job based off of those ASVAB scores. Totally, you could. Okay, but those are the 2 versions. Okay, it's up to the recruiting station which one they're going to allow you to take. Okay, I mean, we've had people that scored really well on the ASVAB, but just due to work schedule or due to family chaos they may have had at home, then that person that did really well may have still taken the PICAT, and it's just because it was more of a time thing for them, and they needed more time in between them taking the PICAT and then going down to confirm it. So it's a case by case basis, okay? But the general rule of thumb, mid-20s and up, we'll put you on the PICAT as long as that's what you want to do. If you're mid 60s and up, we'll just take you and put you on the full ASVAB MEPS. Okay. Now we do all the scheduling. Now, another option that we have for you is that, like, if you want to do your ASVAB on one day and then say take another week and do your physical, we can do that too. Okay. You'll know all this when you sit down with your recruiter and you go over everything together. Okay. Your recruiter will never leave you in the dark about anything. Okay. They're going to tell you every step of the process because you're part of that process too. So they can't leave you out of it, because how are you going to know? How is the recruiter going to tell you, hey, be at MEPS at this time, be at the hotel at this time, if they're leaving you in the dark, right? So you're going to know every step of the process, all right, that you will not be left out in the wind at any point in time, okay? Now, you have taken the ASVAB, you've picked your career field, you've already been to MEPS, you've done your physical, and physical went well, and you went back, sat down with our guidance counselors, you confirmed everything, you are locked in, you've confirmed your contract for the career field that you chose. Well, the last thing you do for that day is you go into a briefing room. There'll be the commander will come in from MEPS there, and they will actually swear you in to whatever branch you're there for. Okay, National Guard, they do a separate swear in for, and then the reserves, and then the active duty gets their own. Okay, so you'll swear in as the last thing you do for the day, and then you'll be in what's called the delayed entry program. Our future soldier program is what you may hear your recruiter refer to it as. So within the DEP program, DEP for short, or the future soldier program, at least in my office, we meet together every 2 weeks. On a Wednesday during school time, we meet at 3 o'clock when everybody's out of school. And then during the summer months, we meet at 1 because all the students are going to be out of school during that time frame. So we do it earlier in the day. So whenever we meet for future soldier training, we do normally it's mostly PT that we do. PT is generally where people are the weakest, and that's when we try to work together to get that person as good in shape as we can before they ship to basic training. Okay, it's not granted you're not going to be a stud or a studette whenever you go to basic training. We'll try to get you there, but most of it's going to be on each individual to be able to do that stuff on your own. After you enlist, depending upon the career field that you have chosen or job that you have chosen, you'll do what's called an occupational physical assessment test, or OPAT for short. It consists of a deadlift, a seated ball throw. Basically, you're sitting against a wall with your lower back against a yoga block, and you have a 5-pound medicine ball, and you basically throw that medicine ball out as far as you possibly can, and then we measure it. So then there's a standing long jump. We'll roll a tape measure across the ground, jump out as far as you can, stick the landing, we'll measure it, and then it's also a pacer test. I say pacer test, it's actually called something different on the OPAT, but most people know it as a pacer test. I guess in high schools that's what they call it. So when it starts, a voice will come over the speaker and tell you, what the test actually is, and then it'll tell you that what you need to listen to or what you need to listen for during the testing, and then it'll do a countdown. The test will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then beep, 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 and then you take off. You'll run 20 meters, turn around, and wait. Beep. Run down 20 meters, turn around, and wait. You'll do that back and forth until you reach the level that you need to be at. Honestly, probably past the level you need to be at, because we don't shoot for the bare minimum. We try to get people to do a little extra because, for one thing, it's just helping you. Generally, most people are not even going to know if they've even met their standard until after testing is complete. Now, we have 90 days to get you past the OPAT in order for you to be able to ship. There's some other paperwork and things that have to be done as well to authorize or to complete your ship packet. But the OPAT has to be within 90 days. You could take the OPAT literally the day before you have to ship, and we can get that in your record. We don't want that. We want to have people tested 90 days in advance, or at least a month in advance, if not 2 or 3 weeks. Military pays by direct deposit, so as part of being in the Future Soldier Program, we'll give you what's called an SF 1199. You'll take that to your bank. There's a portion that your bank has to fill out. If you go to a bank and they say, oh, we don't fill those out, we have our own direct deposit form, doesn't matter. They still have to fill out the form that if you talk to them and they are hell bent, hey, we don't fill this form out, we're not going to. You talk to the branch manager and he says, no, we're not filling this out, you'll have to take our own form. You may have to go find another bank account. I've never run across a bank that wasn't willing to fill it out. Some banks take a little bit longer, especially we've had people that got accounts with Armed Forces Bank. They usually go pretty quick. We've had some other online type banks that people have gotten accounts with. And then there's a Future Soldier orientation you have to do. The Future Soldier orientation is done at least within 7 days of you actually enlisting. So that means that you'll sit down with a recruiter. They'll go over the prohibited activities. That's basically what the Future Soldier orientation consists of. What's going to happen over the next, ever how long you have in our Future Soldier program, the ins and outs of what you can't do as a Future Soldier, what you can't do with a recruiter or as a Future Soldier. All this will be gone over with you during the Future Soldier orientation. Other than that, the only thing you're waiting for is ship day. Once you ship to basic training, depending upon the option that you have chosen, if you chose to do the reserves and you're going to basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, we're only an hour and a half from there. So for us, my office, then we would just drive you there the morning of. Okay, now if you are going to basic training at like Fort Leonard Wood or Fort Benning, Georgia, then if we have to take you to the airport, then we'll transport you to the airport or bus station or wherever we have to take you. But if you do the reserves, we as recruiters are responsible to getting you to the place where you have to be transported, unless we're driving you to the place where you're starting basic training ourselves. Okay, now if you're on active duty, you'll stay in the hotel the night before you ship, and then it's the same hotel you would stay in whenever you process for your physical. So you'll get on a shuttle bright and early that next morning. They'll provide you dinner the night before. The morning of, they'll provide you breakfast, and then you'll get on the shuttle. They'll take everybody back to MEPS, and then you'll go through like a final ship brief with the guidance office there at MEPS, and then once you do that, they'll either put you on a shuttle or a bus and take you wherever you have to go. So the Army we do 2 swear-ins. The first swear-in is the swear-in you do when you swear into our delayed entry program or Future Soldier program. And then the final swear-in you do is the day you ship. Generally, that's the one that's the most important to people because it's going to be the last swearing you do before you get on the bus to leave. Get in the car with us to leave to go to training. If your parents or family cannot make it to the first one, then you can let them know, hey, in 6 weeks or 6 months, 2 months, whatever, this is the day that I'm shipping. You just need to be at MEPS at this time at this day. Outside of that, basic training, you'll go to your reception battalion first. At reception is where they'll give you all your immunizations. You'll get your Army-issued haircut if you're a male. If you're a female, the female drill sergeants will teach you how to put your hair in a bun. So even if you don't know how to do it, they'll teach you how to do it so it's in proper standard. But for all males, your hair will be shaved. Okay, now not like straight razor shaved. It'll be shaved just to where there's a buzz up there. Okay, so you'll get your haircut, your immunizations. If you have to have a prescription for glasses, they'll check your prescription while you're there. They'll issue new glasses for there. It'll be a very modest looking pair of glasses. It's not the big bug eye glasses like they used during World War II in Vietnam. They're actually very modern and look really good. They'll issue a ballistic pair, so whenever you go to the field, you don't have to worry about them getting broken. And then the Army will still issue new pairs of glasses. I'd have to look at the regulation and see, but I think every few years or so, they'll give you a new pair of glasses if you need them. Now, besides glasses, females, if you want birth control, they'll give you prescription for birth control as well. And then you'll get all your uniforms issued, your boots. Do not buy tennis shoes when you go before you go to basic training, because more often than not, they may not let you use them because they have this box that you actually stand up on, and it's got a mirror underneath, and it basically lets the drill sergeants know what type of arch you have on the bottom of your feet. And then they'll tell you what type of running shoes you need based off of your your foot design. Don't buy brand new tennis shoes. You'll still be able to use them once you get wherever you're going permanently. If you're in the reserves and you get back to your civilian life within the reserves, then you'll be able to use those tennis shoes then, or if you get to your first duty station, you can use those new shoes. But initially, for basic training, it's case by case. I've heard of trainees that said that they got to keep them, but more often than not, they're not going to allow you to wear your personally bought tennis shoes before you got there. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Once you get to reception, they're going to give you what's called I still think they call it an Eagle Cash Card. So your first paycheck will be roughly $250 to $300 short, and it's because they take your money from your first paycheck and put it on that Eagle Cash Card, because you're not going to get paid the same day you get there. So they have to give you something in order to where you have money. So that Eagle Cash Card can only be used to either pay for your haircut, to use at the PX or the little retail store they have there, or clothing and sales if you have to get additional uniform items. So you can only use it in those facilities. So you'll buy new tennis shoes with it, all your hygiene items, your underwear, your socks, your T-shirts. You'll buy all that with the Eagle Cash Card. You don't have to worry about being unsure about what you need to buy, because when you get to the little clothing store or the retail store where all the trainees buy their equipment or their clothing and things the uniform items they need, there's going to be a drill sergeant standing at every aisle. You need 2 of those, 3 of those, you need 5 of those, 1 of those. You're not going to be left in the dark. Okay, you'll spend about a week in reception, and then after that week, they'll put you on a bus, take you across base or across post, wherever your basic training unit is located, and that's when reception and integration happens. Basic training is a summer camp with a little bit of yelling at the beginning, okay? I promise you, if you just do what you're told and don't get into trouble, and you're consistently doing your best to progress forward, the drill sergeants get more and more relaxed every day that goes by. Okay, you can imagine if you were yelling all day, every day for 10 weeks straight, do you think you would have a voice left? Think of it for the drill sergeants. Yes, that initial day you get there, it's going to be a lot of yelling, because it's just acclimation. That's all it is. Getting you prepared for the training environment that you are now in. The first 3 weeks are going to be the hardest. You're learning how to do PT. You're learning how to be at the right place at the right time and in the right uniform. You're learning, that, hey, you're getting up at this time every morning. You're going to bed at this time every night. This is the place that you eat at. This is the type of food that you're going to be eating. After that, every time you phase over, red phase is the first 3 weeks. You got a white phase, which is the middle 3 to 4 weeks, and then the last few weeks is the blue phase. That's when you have put everything that you've learned in basic training into practice. And then once you put all that stuff into practice, it's called, for the Army, it's Victory Forge. Victory Forge is where you put everything you've learned over the last 8 weeks into practice. And then the last, probably the happiest you're going to be through your basic training and experience is going to be graduation week, because you're going to start doing rehearsals to prepare you for graduation. You're only a few days away, so that means you're going to get to see those family members that you haven't seen in the last few weeks, or maybe if you've spoken to them, on the phone. Each phase, the drill sergeants may allow you to have a phone call home just to let family know, hey, I've arrived, I'm safe, training is going well. Other than that, when you see your family for the first time, I remember it for mine. I can't even put it in words. It was so amazing. After graduation happened, I've already told you, my experience for graduation, that, that was the first time I saw my dad cry. And him telling me that he was so proud of me, that he didn't think I was going to make it. You can be that same person. Just do what you have to every day to push yourself forward, and at the end of it, you're going to be standing tall and proud, and you're never going to look back, because the Army is going to provide you so much and so many opportunities that I've never looked back. I owe everything to the Army. If I could go through basic training again, I would. But at the end of the day, everybody knows themselves better than I know them. But again, we as recruiters will try our best to get you from point A to point B. as soon as you want to or as quickly as you want to. We will always be here for you if you need anything. Thank you very much for sticking with me if you're still here during this time frame. And again, I'm trying to do these episodes every couple of weeks. It's just finding places to do it. I'm sure you can see in the background here that I'm still working out of my local YMCA here. So at the end of the day, thank you very much for all that you've done for me and supporting my channel here, and just this means of therapy for me, just to vent and speak about my experiences and maybe help you in some way. But thank you very much for your time and your willingness to listen to what I have to say. And I hope that I've helped you in some way, or maybe made you feel better about maybe a process that you're in yourself. But any questions you may have, if I'm not already your recruiter, I just ask that you please just stay in contact with your recruiter, because they're the knowledge base that you need to be getting all of your information from, because they will be able to help you with anything that you need. So thank you again, and I really appreciate your willingness to watch this and support this channel. Thank you very much.